Guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing one of my favorite types of videos. We're going to be doing 1-star review reactions to romances. I've picked 3 romances: Accidentally Amy by Lynn Painter, High Risk Rookie by Odette Stone, and Just for Summer by Abby Jimenez. These are 3 that I read last year that I loved and I had a great time reading, and I'm excited to see how much you guys are going to hurt me with your reviews of these romances. The last time we did this, we did my top 3 from 2025, and I left very offended. I was in tears, and so hopefully we don't have the same experience, but if we do, it'll be a good time. So here we go. We're going to start with Accidentally Amy. This one is by Lynn Painter. So this one, we're following this woman, Isabella, and she is running late for her first day of her job. She's at a coffee shop and she ordered a pumpkin spice latte. And while she's waiting in this like incredibly long line, this waitress or barista, whatever you call her, she is calling for Amy for a pumpkin spice latte. Well, Amy never comes. So Isabella was just like, I'll just take it. So she takes it and she ends up turning around and bumping into this dude, and he thinks her name is Amy. Well, she brushes it off and it's like, I'll see you tomorrow. Ha ha ha. He's her boss. So she goes to work and she runs into him and he thinks her name is Amy. And so now she has to like open up about this lie and how she like stole this coffee at the coffee shop, you know, so much fun. I loved this. I loved Amy's personality. Amy is so much fun. Think Lorelai Gilmore from Gilmore Girls. Such a fun personality. Very big and bold and just so much fun. And they do really well together. Her and her boss, his name is Blake. He's a little bit more like straight and narrow, like buttoned up, you know, CEO type. And they interact super well together and I just loved it. So let's see how much you guys hurt my feelings. The star rating is 3.5, which is fine, but not great. This first one just jumped right out the gate. Says, what the hell is this? So funny. Okay, so it says, the story starts off with the FMC Izzy at a Starbucks waiting for a coffee, and she didn't want to be late to her first day on her new job. So when the barista calls for Amy 3 times and no one gets the drink, Izzy gets it. She's such a rebel. Am I right? So funny. The FMC was giving I'm not like other girls sort of vibes. I mean, I can see that. Seriously got the ick multiple times throughout this book. FMC reminded me of Liz from BTTM. I don't know what that is. Her literal nickname for the MMC was Mr. Chest. It was so cringe. You're telling me they're both almost 30 years old and they're texting like teenagers? A solid 1/4 of the book is just chapters of them texting or calling. The 3rd act breakup was so bad, Lynn Painter couldn't even do that right. It wasn't even his fault either. That's funny. I mean, true. Because, like, the way that it happened, he's the CEO of a company and his job affects her, or like his choices as a company affect her, and we have some choices that affect her. The Spice, Lynn Painter, stick to YA. That was so poorly written. I was internally screaming. The MCs were saying, you want me to sex you up? It comes off so much better in the book, I think. Or maybe I was just like on a Lynn Painter kick and it was just like, it's fine. Didn't even notice. I really didn't even notice, but so funny. This one is just no. And this one. A genuine waste of time, and the main character is effing intolerably quirky and keeps saying PSL for pumpkin spice latte, and it made me want to KMS if we were doing acronyms. Now see, these are funny. The last time you guys just hurt my feelings, but these are funny. Okay, let's see if we can find one more. This one. It says, ew. I love some of Lynn Painter's books, but this was nothing short of exceedingly cringeworthy and icky. Those would be euphemisms if I could think of better adjectives right now. It was just ludicrously nonsensical. Imagine showing this atrocity to a Victorian child. Why, Lynn? I wish I could give 0 stars. I'd highly recommend you to steer clear from this book if you like Lynn Painter. Otherwise, you will be irrevocably remarkably traumatized. That's funny. I dare you to not fall in love with Lynn Painter's writing, and then her writing reads like a 12-year-old Wattpad fan fiction in this. Actually, those are probably better. Okay, so we are going to move on to book 2, High Risk Rookie by Odette Stone. This one, we are following Levi and Krista. Krista is a sports agent, and she goes down to Mexico to try and get Levi to come to Vancouver to do a tryout for the Vancouver Wolves for a hockey team. Well, while they're down there, they end up getting drugged, and then they get married. And so now that's a really bad look where she's trying to be his agent. So they have to keep that on the down low while they go back to Vancouver and him do his hockey tryout and her try to figure out how to get them divorced without everyone finding out. Well, they're also dealing with Levi's being sabotaged for his tryout, and Krista's having to deal with her terrible family and her terrible ex, and it's a lot of interpersonal relationship drama, and I just love this so much. And I'm very scared for these reviews. High Risk Rookie has a 4.04 star rating, so that gives me a little bit more hope. There's only 114 negative reviews. Or, well, 1-star reviews. The Heroine from Hell. This installment had one of the worst heroines I've come across lately. Krista is in books 2 and 3 in the series and seems to be a kind person, and I was interested in her story. However, there was a huge discrepancy in the story. Her mother and sister treat her like garbage. Okay, no big deal, right? After all, just because someone's blood relation does not mean they get to treat you poorly, you keep doing for them. Well, in this book, it does. That was the whole point of her storyline, was her having to figure out how to deal with her family and how to learn how to stand up for herself. It's not that the book romanticized it or anything. They treat her terrible and she keeps doing for them and being nice, trying to make a relationship work. Why? That's normal. People do that all the time. And then they've noticed some plot holes. And I've read these books like back to back, but I don't remember the plot holes. So I'll take them at their word that they're there. And when I say plot holes, I mean like plot holes because Krista is in the other books as well. And we get pieces of her story. And so now that we're in book 4 and we get all of her story, it's not lining up with what was previously told in previous books. They're also talking about how, to top it off, Krista treats the hero Levi like garbage. She constantly pushes him away over and over again in this book. It's not till the end of the book she's finally open to him in their actual accidental turned real marriage. He keeps treating her amazing and loving and wants to be with her, and she keeps kicking him like an abused puppy. I don't remember that. Not like that. I remember she was really confused, but I don't remember it being like awful. I think a lot of it, she's trying to protect her job. She's not supposed to be married to him. She's not supposed to want him at all. And so I really like that push and pull of their relationship. This one just says awful. Compared to Stone's other Vancouver Wolves books, which I genuinely enjoyed, this one felt underdeveloped and forced. Why was Levi considered so high risk? He wasn't actually a crazy party animal who was hard to control. He had bad luck here and there, but was obviously a good guy. There was all this stuff in his past that was barely discussed. Krista's family situation could have been fleshed out more too. The situation with Edward and her sister was so over the top it felt silly. Not my favorite. So that's very mild. And I get that. And I think the reason why it's like high risk is not so much because of his like history and his behavior, but more of she's risking her entire career by being with him because she's not allowed to be his agent and she's not allowed to be like personally involved with him if she wants to be his agent, you know? So I think that that's where a lot of that high risk part comes in. But they do try to play up a little bit of his history, but it's really not that bad. Not really. And it really is like more bad luck or just bad timing with different people and just a couple of choices here and there that he's made where he comes off a little bit more risky for like the company's reputation. DNF 7%. The entire premise of the plot in the beginning is ridiculous. I just can't. I mean, it is a bit wild, that they would get drugged and married. Like, that's wild. When you have no idea what happened the night before, a night that had consequences, and someone says you should look in your wallet for answers, not doing it immediately is so unlikely that him not checking ASAP is dumb AF. I mean, that's a really good point. He waited forever to look and figure out what happened. Like, he did wait way too long to find out what happened. I really didn't like any of the characters, not Krista, not Levi, and none of his stupid friends who put them in that situation and then refuses to tell him what happened after. I didn't connect with them or the story. I just didn't want to know them or anything more. I mean, that's fair. I'll give this one credit. Okay, so we are going to move on to Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This one actually terrifies me because I love this book so much. This one really could hurt my feelings. Just for the Summer is a romance book where we're following Emma and Justin. Emma is dealing with her family dynamics. Her mom is very unstable, has been in and out of her life. Emma grew up in foster care and she was very closed off from most people. And when things get difficult, she has a tendency to flee. Justin is dealing with the fact that his mom is getting ready to go to jail for some choices that she made. And now he's going to be given the responsibility of taking care of his 3 younger siblings. And they end up meeting on Reddit where Justin posts this Am I the Asshole post where he's asking, am I the asshole for this elaborate story between him and his friend? And the conclusion of that is he ends up meeting girls, and then what ends up happening is they will date somebody else and then end up marrying that person right after dating Justin, and it keeps happening to him. Well, the same thing keeps happening to Emma, and so she comments on his post and is like, oh, that happens to me too. So they decide to meet and date for a month in order to cancel out their bad luck, essentially. And so they end up dating and meeting, and of course, things get a little bit more intense than they initially thought it was going to. And so I loved this one. I read this one with a friend. We were on our way to Nashville for the weekend. And so we just put on this audiobook because we both love romances. And we were so giddy and loved it all the way through. We really loved Emma and Justin. We thought they were great together. We loved the dynamics and the drama of this story. Oh, so much fun. So let's get into the 1-star reviews. This one has a 4.35 rating on Goodreads. So maybe this won't hurt too bad. This first one, everybody needed therapy. This is true. They absolutely needed therapy. I will give you that one. Oh, this first one. Well, second one technically. Just for the Summer is exactly what I imagined you'd get if you took all the worst parts of early 2010s Tumblr, Wattpad, and ran them through a random TikTok buzzwords generator. The book reads like it was written in hopes that it becomes a movie. This is not a compliment. Considering how much hype this book gets, I expected to get something more than 400 pages of pointless dialogue and trauma dumping with no actual plot in sight. Abby Jimenez's style of writing prioritizes dialogue over the prose and plot development, and while it's quirky and fun in the beginning, it gets increasingly frustrating and boring the more of the book you read. There's so many plot holes and inconsistencies that you begin to wonder if there's a former book about the 2 MCs that you should have been aware of before starting Just for the Summer. I don't know what they mean by that. The author clearly believes that having your characters trauma dump over and over again will substitute for a plot, and it just doesn't work that way, I fear. A vast majority of this book was just about the MCs and their issues, especially Emma and her relationship with her mom. It was exhausting to read, which admittedly might have been the point, so kudos to the author. But when it's taking away from the romance in a romance book, maybe change how it's marketed to the public then. We also did not need almost 10 chapters of Emma and Justin being sick. Was it 10 chapters? I don't even remember it being 10. Oh, I loved those scenes, though, of them being sick. Oh, if you know, you know. It was fantastic. We should have been done with that in 2 chapters, 3 at most. What's even worse is the conflict stretching out over half the book, only for the resolution to be like 12 pages long. Like, are you kidding me? It very much felt like a here, damn kind of ending, and that made me even more mad. I don't know what they're talking about. Adding on to that, the entire book is just one giant ad. The book was released only a couple months ago. It's too much of a coincidence that every single big name brand that were mentioned is almost every chapter, by the way. Just so happen to be Target names that are on the BD's boycott list. And while this might not matter to everyone, it does to me. Reading a book pandering to Zionists is not my idea of fun. Okay, so they're getting into all that kind of stuff. I don't know any of that, so maybe. I didn't notice a lot of the brands. I don't know. It wasn't that big of a thing for me. I did not care for any of the characters, especially not Justin and Emma. They were both immature, which is insane because they're supposed to be almost 30-year-olds and boring and seemed to only complain the whole book. Emma was such an infuriating character to read about. I don't think it's possible for someone that self-absorbed and self-centered to have a job in nursing, is it? It was all about her since she's apparently the smallest person who ever lived. Justin was bearable for the first 6 or so chapters before he took a sharp turn from quirky nerd into invasive weirdo and just kept on getting worse from then on. Both of them had bad chemistry equivalent to reading a blank piece of paper. Another thing that doesn't make sense since the author was clearly going for the love at first sight shtick. Other than a few long declarations of love that were clearly put there so that book talkers would post about it with the caption, "Need me a man like him for real," there's nothing of weight in this giant snooze fest of a book. What? What do you mean? I thought it was great. I thought that Emma's, trauma and the effects that it had on her, I thought it was great. I loved it. I don't know what they're talking about. Okay, this next one, I think they're being a little bit petty. They DNF'd at 30%. And they said insta love, bland storyline, and no romance. How the Same Woman Wrote Yours Truly, I'll never know. ISTG, Abby Jimenez did not write this book. And then goes on to be like, I need to know why. Like, why are you doing the things that you're doing? Emma and Justin are cursed. After a breakup, every ex of theirs goes on to meet their soulmate. Straight after, determined to end the curse, they agree to meet up, pretend to date, and break up, thus meeting their own soulmates. Character motivations and objectives equals loss. Both these characters want to break an apparent curse, and I cannot for the life of me tell you why. What do you mean you don't know why they want to break the curse where their relationships are doomed? Okay. And then let's start with Justin. Why did he post on the Reddit thread? Does he do it often? Read other entries. What made him do it? Why did Emma's friend Maddie read the thread? Again, is that something she does often? I need to understand these little whys if it's part of the character and their world. Why did Justin want to break the curse? How is it impacting his life? Why is it important to him? But that's where I'm like, are you just being petty? Because why does that why matter? Of, do you read Reddit often? Do you post often? Like, why are you posting on Reddit? I think that that's a small piece to be annoyed about. I don't know. I could be wrong on that one. I could be petty. This one, I could get a little bit better. So Emma, as a travel nurse, she's never in the same place for longer than 3 months. So why would she be bothered about breaking the curse and meeting her soulmate? She has no plans to settle down. So why agree to meet and fake date a stranger from the internet to break the curse? So that one I can understand because she doesn't care about connecting with humans a whole lot. So why is she really worried about breaking this curse if she doesn't plan on being with someone for a long term? So I can get that one. So they're worried about there's no stakes. But oh lordy lord, someone help me find the stakes, please. What happens if these characters don't break the curse? Why is it important to them? How will their lives change, be impacted as a result? How is it currently impacting them? What's the worst that could happen? Yours truly and Part of Your World were great examples of decent stakes that weren't groundbreaking objectively, but supreme to the characters. Okay, I could see that. I think Justin's motivation for breaking the curse is very valid because of the fact that he actually wants to settle down. He actually wants to be in a relationship long term. Emma's is a little bit shaky, but once they meet, then they want to be together. And that's pretty obvious pretty quickly, even though they're not fully admitting that. So then the stakes become their relationship. That's how I took it. At 30%, there was zero romance apart from Justin tripping over his balls the first time he saw Emma. The insta love was loving. They read like two friends getting on, except Justin wouldn't turn her down if she made a move. Also 30% in the main conflict is Emma's mom popping back up, potentially writing her new temporary landlord. It was hinted at Justin having mommy issues, but I don't care enough about his character to want to find out. If the only conflict is to do with parents, then these two don't need to break a curse. I think they need to sit down with Jeremy Kyle. At 30%, I should be spluttering, struggling to put the book down, understand the stakes, and what everything means to the characters. Yawn for me. I don't know. I really enjoy the fact that it has more than just the romance at stake. Like, they're dealing with these other relationships and things like that. And that's what really draws me in. Plus, like, Justin is just fantastic. And I thought they were really great together. But they called Emma selfish. And I don't know that she was selfish. And yes, she is like 30 and confused and doesn't entirely know what she wants. But like, when you've lived your entire life with instability in relationships, and you only have one person ever in your entire life who you have trusted and let into your world, then opening yourself up to a potential love interest who's actually going to stick around and actually be good, that can be really difficult sometimes. So, I don't know. Who would have thought that the viral TikTok book with a 4.46 average Goodreads rating and 300,000 reviews would be the worst book I've ever read in my entire life? It's so funny. Oh. Okay, it says, me, I really should have known. This review is probably going to be incredibly disjointed because I'm writing it on the fly right after finishing the book. I'll try to group my thoughts into subsections of things that made me mad. Please do not read this review if you like this book. I am just stewing in my anger and I'm not sure what will come out. That's so funny. And I have to keep reading it, even though I love this book. Because I'm a huge nerd, we're going to start off with the grammar and the writing. I've never in my life read a published novel with worse grammar than I saw in this book. You may be thinking, hey, you're typing with all lowercase letters. Your grammar isn't perfect. And to say that, I'll say yes. But this is an online review. I expect certain standards in published novels. Standards that include minimal spelling errors and decent punctuation. Now, see, I have no idea about, like, the spelling errors or the punctuation or any of that things. I listen to it on audio. So, I have no idea. I have no opinion on that. The comma use was so atrocious, it made me genuinely angry. I understand that comma use can be a tricky skill to learn, but some techniques are elementary school level. Abby Jimenez writes sentences like this. I went to the sink and started the tap and washed the strawberries and put them on the table. I am not exaggerating. Writing an itemized list is so incredibly easy, so having to write sentences like that over and over again in a published novel was so disheartening. It's funny. There's also a 4-year-old character who literally speaks like, "Are you coming for my birthday?" Make sure you look at the picture here. Reading that and writing it now made me want to walk into the ocean. So dramatic. I don't think this book had an editor. Most errors were easy enough for me to catch them, and they were everywhere. There's literally no excuse for this level of sloppiness. And I think that, and I don't know, hang on. There is talk amongst YouTube and the book world that the longer an author has been putting out books and stuff, the less they get edited as their career continues. So this kind of helps that case. Oh, okay. I wanted to read this book despite not liking Abby Jimenez's other books, not to dunk on it, but because I thought the plot sounded awesome. One of my all-time favorite books, Always Never Yours, is about a girl whose boyfriend go on to meet long-term partners right after they end their romance with her. The idea of two people in this situation intentionally dating and dumping one another sounded so interesting. So they don't like Abby Jimenez at all, so that also plays a part. They don't have any slow burn pining or thoughts of, but wait, what if I maybe want more? He just instantly wants to trick her into breaking their pact. And she's just like, wait, he's cute, but I'm only here for a few weeks. The pact doesn't matter at all. And the pact is like them breaking up after 4 dates. And since we had love at first sight, none of the 400 pages is used for us seeing the characters fall for each other. Their dates are explained, but we rarely ever get to see them. We're told their conversations are funny and deep and flow smoothly, but we never get to witness them. Their love story feels so fake and forced. You may be wondering, wait, if there's no relationship development, what the hell happens for 400 pages? Well, here comes a new rant about why I freaking hate so many book talk romances. Drama plus trauma. The majority of this book is about intense trauma the main characters are reckoning with. The first date the characters have, and one of the only ones we get to see, literally involves the main girl telling the boy how her mom left her alone at home with $20 for weeks, leading her to almost dying, then going into foster care. She then proceeds to tell the guy that she stalked him online and found his dad's obituary, and she asks him what happened with that on their first date. What happened to hello, how are you, my name is? The date ends when he drops her off at home and they find out her abusive mom has moved in next door. I can't make this crap up. Every chapter is a reiteration of the girl dealing with the trauma of an abusive mom. Every day is a rehash of her terrible life. Wait, let me be fair. Sometimes it's a rehash of the main guy's terrible life. We learn that his mom is going to jail for embezzling money from a nonprofit, leaving the main guy raising his 3 younger siblings. Raising kids takes a lot of work. So much of the novel is this couple helping each other talk about and reckon with their families after they just met. This is not a romance. This is 2 traumatized people finding each other hot and leaning on each other. And I hate how modern romance books feel the need to pepper themselves with intense subjects. I love the intense subjects. I don't think Abby Jimenez knows a single thing about the very intense situation she's writing about. We never talk to the mom about why she's embezzled money. She straight up just goes to jail. These topics deserve time to fully discuss them, but this time takes away from the development and falling in love that people look for in romances. A romance cannot be chock full of poorly executed drama with 2 Barbies being forced to kiss by Abby Jimenez above it all. That's so funny. Oh, okay. Now listen. They talk on the phone before they ever even meet. Like, they were already starting to become friends before they actually meet and go on this first date. So it's not like, hey, what if we break the curses together and then they start talking about trauma? Like, it's not that fast. They actually have like conversations on the phone and they text a little bit before they ever even meet. That's the whole reason why she like goes up there to wherever he lives to actually like meet him in real life, is because she was already liking him. It wasn't that instant. Yes, they saw each other, they thought each other was hot, they liked each other, but they were already developing a connection before they ever even like met in real life. And I love when books have more intense subjects. Like, if it's just the romance and nothing else, I'm bored. So I think we just have a difference of opinion on what makes for a good story. I'm also very much a grim, dark, high fantasy reader. So I like those dark worlds and those intense traumas and things like that. So I'm very biased. Why do I call the characters Barbies? Because they have no personality besides being attractive. Emma, the main girl, speaks in therapy talk and deals with intense trauma. Those are her only personality traits. Maybe fair. As an avoidant person, I thought that part of her personality was written very well. However, that shouldn't be all she is. She can't exist to talk about how shut off she feels and give heartfelt speeches about the power of empathy anytime anyone says anything remotely negative about someone who genuinely hurt them. And then there's Justin. Or to quote Bob's Burgers, bland, boring Justin. If he were spice, he'd be flour. If he were a book, he'd be 2 books. That's funny. He has no personality. Literally zip 0. He exists to think the main girl is hot and he'd be obsessed with her. We don't find out what his job is until page 300. Is that real? I don't remember that. If you want wish fulfillment men with no personality other than being obsessed with you, go on Wattpad. Publishing this dentist prize box of tropes like a slap in the face to actual books that take so much work to publish. Oh, wait a second. There is a personality trait that the book repeatedly tells you Justin has. Humor. The book tells us over and over that Justin is funny. He is so aggressively not. This is so much fun. What makes good banter is not only being funny, but having characters play off one another. In Emily Henry's banter, characters shoot quips back and forth, and I'm allowed to simply watch and enjoy and laugh if it's funny. In Just for the Summer, I'm not allowed to decide what's funny because the characters laugh at everything. After every joke, we're told, I laughed, he laughed, I cracked up, she cracked up, they cracked up. Even this person had to laugh. Oh, so funny. Okay, this post is so long. So this thing, I will give him this. Or this reviewer this. Okay. One of the dreamy things that Justin did for Emma was write her e-vites and surveys for every date. Personally, I found this cheesy and like another form of wish fulfillment, boyfriend in place of actual character. I could see that because it very much reads as like perfect boyfriend ever sort of thing. And Justin really does come off as perfect boyfriend. I've even said myself in my video that I did for this book where Justin is very much like the dream boyfriend. And so I can definitely see him coming off as like wish fulfillment. Anyway, TLDR, too long don't read. Your post here is gigantic. I think this book represents every way that the rise of book talk is hurting the romance genre. And having it shoved in my face for 400 pages is as big a crime as embezzling from a nonprofit like the main character's mother did for all of 2 paragraphs. This was great. This was a great one to end on. It was so long. I even like skipped several sections of this because it was so long. So funny. I had a great time. Okay. I'm just really thankful that we did not hurt my feelings this time. I was able to laugh at these, which is what I wanted. I want to be able to laugh at these because some of these are just so funny. I love rants. I love when people like go on rants and they're just like telling things off and they're just like being so outlandish. It cracks me up. It's so much fun. I love when booktubers do 1-star reviews for these. Or I follow this booktuber, Alan from the Library of Alexandria. He'll go on rants. It's so much fun when his friends get him riled up and he goes on rants and he like gets all hyperbolic. So much fun. Best thing ever. So I love these. Hopefully you had a good time. We're going to go ahead and end this video here because it's a little bit long already because of this last post. Did you enjoy these? Did you like these books? Let me know your hot takes in the comments and I will see you in the next one.